Welcome to Deconstructing the Voice. Today we will be deconstructing the voice of legendary recording tenor Nicolai Gedda. I first became acquainted with the recordings of Nicolai Gedda, specifically the very best of Nicolai Gedda, the album released by EMI Classics, through Richard Croft, with whom I studied at the University of North Texas. I don't quite remember what the discussion was about specifically, but I do remember we got onto the topic of being able to sing both heavy and lighter tenor, and whether that is something which is physically possible. And he provided Nicolai Gedda to me as the one example that he knew of a light tenor being able to also sing heavy tenor. I cannot really state how profoundly his singing influence has had on me. I have listened to his recordings on this album time and time again. I credit him with my ability to sing in countertenor to a large degree. He definitely provided me with guideposts of how to find the beauty in male head voice. And so I'd like to share that with you in this video. First things first, Nicolai Gedda was born in Sweden. He was born to a Swedish mother and a half-Russian father, born into a bilingual household, Swedish and Russian. This linguistically interesting family life gave him the linguistic abilities to earn him the title of tenor with the best diction in every language, essentially. He has fantastically impressive diction in every language, especially Russian. When I am asked to sing things in Russian, my first thing that I check is whether or not there is a Nicolai Gedda recording. If there is, I'm super lucky because it means that I don't have to work on the diction. I just listen to him and copy what he does. So here's an excerpt from Lenski's aria.
Всё благо бдения и сна приходит час определенный, благословен и день забот.
The way that he just sings the words is so natural, and it works so well with the singing that it's gorgeous. Je crois entendre encore, from the opera Les Pêcheurs de Perles, or The Pearl Fishers, by Georges Bizet.
Je crois entendre encore caché sous le palmier.
This aria is possibly the hardest aria for me to sing. The wretched is mostly in a healthy place. However, at the very end of the wretched, there is this portion which he floats, and it is haunting.
Dans l'espace.
So gorgeous. But that is an example of how he uses a forward yelly, what I've been calling divergent resonator. And he uses this whenever he seems to be doing a lot of lighter colored things. Heavier sounds tend to more use bottle resonators, and yet light sounds tend to more use divergent resonators. It's very counterintuitive physically, I would say. This aria taught me what a tenor yodel is, because he's able to go from his full voice into his head voice and maintain a richness of tone between the two registers that it's amazing. I would say the one thing that differentiates yodels from each other is that you can have a very very clicky transition between the two, or you could have a very smooth transition, which is what Nicolai Gedda is the master of.
Ennui.
Ah! Having to start there is a very uncomfortable note. Usually E4, F4 are the two most awkward notes for tenors to sing. But this goes above to an A4, which is quite hard. So what I find interesting about Gedda's technique is that for this aria, it sounds to me as though he is constricting his ariepiglottis to a degree, and which is causing the larynx to raise just enough, but he is dilating all of his pharyngeal space that he can, so it still has that chiaroscuro effect, but it's a lot brighter than most modern opera companies would be comfortable with.
O souvenir charmant,
For l'ivresse,
pour l'ivresse durera.
charmant. That high C, that high C. Asile héréditaire from Rossini's William Tell, or William Tell. William Tell. What I love about this particular track is that it shows how he actually does do heavy and light. So in the first verse, he's doing the typical chiaroscuro bottle resonation, or the hoot timbre, according to Kenneth Bozeman. Hier encore ton abri tutelaire. In the second verse, in order to pianissimo, he actually switches his resonation style from hoot to yell timbre, or from bottle to divergent resonator. Mire chérie, qu'habite mon père. Notice how I was using a divergent resonator, but I was kind of floating it instead of the large qu'habite. That would be like the belty approach, but he doesn't do a belty approach. So first verse. Here's his B flat. And he does that very well for the first section. When he gets to the second verse, he chooses to do it piano. I don't see it in the score, but his way of going piano is to go into that divergent space. So how I was doing an appropriate chiaroscuro, like darker, what's acceptable in opera today, he goes in the opposite direction into that brighter tone color that is very good, but also extremely frustrating to try to recreate. Le postillon de l'engement. I mean, this is all about the high D for the most part. So let's just skip to the refrain, because the verses are wordy, but they're not terribly difficult, at least in terms of range. Oh, qu'il était beau le postillon de l'engement. It goes like that every time, all three times. Then, oh, qu'il était beau.
Qu'il était beau.
Qu'il était beau. Le postillon de l'engement. Le postillon de l'engement. Okay. Each time it goes even higher, which adds to the tenor's terror when performing this. I have yet to perform this live. I'm a little scared to do it. Then, the second time, oh, qu'il était beau.
Il était beau.
Le position de longement, le position de longement. Okay, that's the second time through. Then, the ridiculous, the highest, the higher than should ever be necessary, high D in this opera. And you can hear while he sings. He goes, oh, and then he tanks. Qu'il était beau. Le position de longement. And then he transposes it up the octave because he can do it. He knows how to. Le position de longement. No, come on. Magische Töne from Goldmark's Königin von Saba. Probably my favorite Gedda recording after Je crois entendre encore. For the same reasons that I like Je crois, I like Magische Töne even more because he really knows how to do the floats, the full-voiced floats, so that the tone is very gentle, still on the breath. His breathing is. This aria is the one that taught me how to do an elegant yodel. And you're going to hear it in the final bit of this aria. There's an ascending scale, kind of an ascending scale. And that final, that's a high C. That is a C5. The thing is as he does the jumps up and down, he is transitioning very quickly from full voice into head voice and back. There's different ways to do a yodel. You can smooth it out. You can make it very, very glottal and clear of a transition. Oh! Like that had almost like a snap in the voice where Gedda transitions into his yodels and back down very smoothly. Magische Töne. That's only the first note he floats into. Then he goes a little higher. Notice how I'm keeping the jaw space about the same. I have lots of, my area epiglottis is open. What it feels like actually is that there is a change in quality of the breath, the way the breath goes into the pharynx. But the sensation is there's a lot of backspace and most of the buzz is happening in front of the face. It's so difficult. But then again, I'm not in practice of doing this light of a fach in my professional career right now. So now let's get into the the part I was talking about. to me.
Hold me.
It's great. He has played no small part in my being able to differentiate singing in head voice versus full voice versus tenor float. He's fantastic.